Well, forget about those dark, seedy, topless joints. The growing trend is to so-called upscale topless bars, making their mark in New York and other cities around the country. The men are in suits, the dancers starting out in fancy attire. Now, are these clubs moving topless dancing into the mainstream, or are they just the latest form of safe sex? Perhaps it's the same old crude entertainment, which many say exploits women. Devin Michael says that she doesn't feel exploited. She is a topless dancer at Flash Dancers in New York. The club's owner, Lynn Lipovsky, also joins us. Mark Sullivan attends topless bars, and he believes that they're just harmless fun. He's a businessman in Washington, D.C. But Norma Ramos says that the new clubs mean the same old degrading treatment of women. She is general counsel for the group Women Against Pornography, which sponsored a protest march in New York yesterday against topless clubs. Welcome to all of you. Devin, I'd like to start with you and ask you if you feel a sense of power and excitement in these clubs. You draw a lot of attention. There are guys who pay to see you and give you tips. Is there anything degrading about it?
I don't feel degraded in the least. It's fun, it's simple entertainment. They don't touch us, we don't touch them. It's completely clean, just clean fun.
Well, in effect, they do get close. In order to be able to put a $20 bill in your G-string, they have to touch you, don't they?
They do get close, and they don't put them in our G-string. That's not allowed by New York law. They put them in a garter belt on our thigh, or they can hand them to us.
And the idea of fraternizing with the patrons and talking to them, getting notes from them, being asked out, and perhaps for more than just a date?
Well, we don't date the customers. None of the girls that I work with date the customers. They may ask us out, but most of the men know that it is just fantasy. We're just there to look at.
And if someone said that you were being exploited, that you're young, you're foolish, you don't realize that you are really being exploited, not just yourself, but really suggesting that women are toys and sex objects, how would you respond to that?
I don't feel like a sex object. I feel sexy. I don't feel like an object. I feel like I'm there providing entertainment, some
Mark Sullivan, what do you
conversation.
go there for?
I go there for entertainment, usually with friends. There's a aspect of camaraderie with my friends, and you should keep in mind, I want you to, that these are bars. People go to have drinks, and that there's an aspect of titillation attached to the dancing. But
good choice of words.
But no one is that I'm aware of, or any environment that I've ever been to, has an oppressive toward women atmosphere. I don't think that's anyone's intent that goes.
What kinds of things do you guys say to each other while you're watching the women dance? God, that woman's got a great IQ. I can just tell. Look at that smile. Probably 140.
You're absolutely correct that there is a sexual aspect to this, and that those of us together mention it to each other. But we're there to be together, and it's a boys' night out, and I can tell you I'm married and happily, and that my wife takes a sort of boys will be boys attitude.
Oh, wait a minute, Mark. I just have to ask you one more thing, and try to tell me the truth. All the guys tell their wives that they go right, and then discuss the whole thing with their wives, and their wives say, "Oh, darling, have a wonderful time. We don't care."
Well, I do, and that's exactly my situation. And as to others, you're right. Some wives take a strong attitude that this is not a good thing, and I'm not going to argue that this is high art, and I'm not going to argue that it's critically important to our society. But I will say this: that I would not want to be a member of a society that would attempt to outlaw this, and I am continually amazed by libertarians for say, feminism, taking an anti-libertarian approach to this issue.
Well, Norma, what is it that we should really be concerned about? Everybody here is a consensual adult.
Well, I think that you have to understand that what the real dynamic is that's at work here. And what's happening is that men are taking their pleasure at the sexual degradation and demeaning of women. We have a society that on one hand says that equality for women is a goal and is a valid goal. And on the other hand, we have very powerful men with social status going to bars where women are presented as sex toys and are being economically rewarded to be sex objects. In that same society, we have tremendous amounts of sexual harassment against women at the workplace. We have women who are meeting the glass ceiling or not getting promotions at the job. We have tremendous inequality in this society. And these same men who take their pleasure in this way are making decisions over women concerning employment opportunities. And I think that there has to be a reconciliation of what is the attitude that it's at play here. Why are men going to clubs to see women in this light? And I think it's because they get a sense of power over women.
Let's ask a woman who owns one of these clubs. How do you feel? I mean, do you feel that in some ways you're really betraying women by exploiting and showing them off
Not in the least.
their assets?
Not in the least. I think that people go there because these girls are beautiful and they're looking at something beautiful. I don't think that she feels in any way that she's being degraded. I don't think that any of the men there feel that they have some kind of power over the dancers. I think that the dancers, on the other hand, have a certain amount of power over the patrons.
Do you feel that? I actually asked you that question. I was going to come back to it because you didn't respond. Is there, you know that there is a fantasy that many, many women have, where they see themselves as a stripper. It's somehow involved in a voyeuristic activity, and where the eyes of all men are on them, and they recognize, even in this fantasy world, because yours is a fantasy world in many ways, an extraordinary power over men. Do you ever feel that?
I don't know that I feel powerful over men, but I definitely have the upper hand. I definitely am in control. They're not controlling me. I'm the one in control.
If that's the case, how would that change, if at all?
See, that's the fantasy. That's exactly the fantasy, that these women actually have power. The reality is that this woman's choice has been constrained, has been limited by sexism, by the inequality of women. She does not have the same opportunities to earn money that men have. Her choices are limited. We don't have women making multi-million-dollar contracts to sign on to play professional sports. Women do not have the same opportunities in this country to have their own talents and abilities rewarded. When women do make lots of money, and where the real opportunities exist too often, is to take their clothing off and to sexually entertain men in this way, which is a male definition of sexuality that's created and promoted in a pornographic culture.
Let's ask Mark if this is something he'd object to if his wife or daughter did it, would you?
I have no daughter. I understand the point. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that.
Why not?
Well, I mean, I guess I would like to think of my wife as being a more private individual than that, but I don't judge, obviously, someone who chooses to live their life otherwise. And my relationship with a dancer is certainly not my oppressing that dancer. Or
but isn't it true that there are some men who do form relationships with the dancer, may even go back to see the same dancer, start to have a sense of camaraderie, maybe even entrusting her with parts of their own life, maybe wanting it to stay in the club? Don't necessarily mishear me, it could be either way, but could that not occur, a bonding?
That doesn't happen for me. I can tell you I have a very, very good friend who believes that it happens for him, but I think he's kidding himself. I think that he goes and he remembers their names and they remember his name, but I don't think there's any relationship. I honestly don't believe the dancers are interested in any such relationship. I've never gotten that impression at all.
Lynn, I wonder if you see your club any different from the Chippendales. I mean, I've seen women in the Chippendales. I have seen the Chippendales, and I have never seen women act as raucous as I did there. And I've been told, since I have never had the other opportunity, frankly, that women in many cases act worse.
Much
and
worse.
Less restrained than the men.
Yes, the women, I've been there, and I would say women get wilder in Chippendales because I think for women it's so much more forbidden. You know, there's one Chippendales, there's one club.
But one does have the right to ask, does this promote aggression against women after men leave? And I'm curious to know how you would respond to that.
Yes, what it does is it reinforces the attitudes that already are out there because we have a pornographic society. And it reinforces the attitudes that this is who women are. Women are really reducible to a sex toy for men. When men act on this, and the man who is speaking, Mark, actually, he does have a role in oppressing women by giving his money to see women in this way. He does have a responsibility and a role he's playing in reinforcing the inequality of women. And I don't think that he can rationalize that by saying this is just harmless fantasy. That's a real woman, not a girl, but that's a real woman up there.
Let's take all of the opinions that have been given here and go to the audience, many of whom may be attendees, some of whom may actually dance in topless bars. We'd like to hear how you feel about it. How do you feel about your husbands going, your wives participating? 212-643-0077. And we're talking about topless bars. We're talking with Devin Michael, who is a topless dancer, Lynn Lepotsky, who is the owner of the club Flash Dancers, Mark Sullivan, who's a businessman in the Washington, D.C. area, who's patronized topless bars on occasion, and Norma Ramos, General Counsel for Women Against Pornography. We'll go right to our phones, and we'll go to Carol in California. Hi, Carol.
Hi, yes. I am a topless dancer out in Los Angeles, and I had a question for the dancer. I wanted to know how she felt when guys are making rude comments at her and stuff, because right now I am having a very hard time dealing with it.
I find that most of the men that come into our club are very nice men. I don't get rude comments. I get more rude comments walking down the street in Manhattan with all my clothes on than I do in the topless bar.
When you're in the bar, however, that has given you experience that most women have not had. Has it changed your attitude about men in any way?
In what way? No, I don't believe so. I think
So you would not feel uncomfortable if the day would come that you were no longer a dancer and your husband attended topless bars? You would not have self-doubts or look at that in any strange way?
In fact, I've had regular customers bring their wives in to meet me. And
what do they say to them?
They say, "This is Devin. Devin, this is my wife."
That's it?
That's it. And I say, "Hi, how are you?"
I'll bet there's a lot said in the drive home. Let's go to Ken in California. Hi, Ken.
Hello.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say that men enter into a tacit contract of powerlessness when they enter a topless bar? They are forced to perform at the service of the dancer by providing money and being success symbols, and then they have to leave when they can no longer squirt money out of their wallets.
What a very interesting point of view. Mark, would you respond to that?
That's wrong.
You feel the power position. Come on, be honest.
I personally would never put myself in that position, ever.
So you don't feel that these women have any power over you?
No, certainly not.
Mark, would you pay to see 50-year-old women take off their tops?
I would, yes. I would do that. That sounds great. We should do that soon.
Now, Devin, you may find yourself having to leave this profession. How long do girls usually stay? Ladies,
Usually
women, excuse me.
Late 20s.
Late 20s.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because they go on to other things, and because they don't look as good.
Because they don't look as good. Okay, I had to push a little bit, but that is a part of it.
Yes.
Now, how does that make you feel? This is the apex of your life in this business. Honey, you're over the hill in your late 20s. I mean, you're finished, baby. You're out of here.
Well, that's just how it is. If I was a professional basketball player, I wouldn't expect to play basketball until I was 50.
So you're going to be good-humored about it, and you know that it's limited. And this, of course, is probably part of what you feel, that these are girls, and when they turn into women, they are no longer needed. They're on the trash
No,
barrel.
that's actually not the major problem we have. The major problem is the woman that called, who is also a topless dancer, actually also reinforced what we're saying. This is a form of sexual harassment.
Do you see it as a form of prostitution?
It is a form of prostitution. It is a form of sexual harassment.
Why do you
this
say
is being committed to seeing women and to men taking pleasure at seeing women as being completely not human beings, but a sex toy.
Why can't they just do something beautiful to look at?
We're raising women. Let's be clear about what this is, because that means that we have a society where we're telling our female children that this is what you can grow up to be, that you do not have the same opportunities as men in professional sports, in all the other professions. There's tremendous discrimination against women. But this is an area where men will economically reward you. Take off your clothing, become a sex toy for men, and we will reward you. And then we also have a whole layer of rationalizations like Mark keeps laying out that, oh, this is just entertainment. But he doesn't want his wife to do it because he does recognize the real dynamic of this. It is demeaning. And we have a society that is rewarding this because we have a pornographic society that socializes men, that this is what women are for.
Mark, when we continue, I want to ask you a question, and I really would appreciate your honesty. Have you ever known or heard of, I mean, after all, this is a place to get sexually aroused. It's a place to get teased. And then you walk out onto the street. Have you ever seen or known of more aggressive behavior on the part of any of the guys there as a result of this type of arousal phenomena? 212-643-0077 is our number. We're talking about topless bars. Mark, I asked you about the issue of aggression, if you've ever heard that the guys have gotten more aggressive, and whether or not you think that men go because they have such difficulty seeing their wives as sexual objects.
I can't comment about why people go. I know why I go and why my friends go, and they go for entertainment. And it's not, it is a bar, a place to get a drink, and as a component of the entertainment, there are dancers. Just like in some bars there are pool tables, and in some bars...
So you don't think it has anything to do with the fact that men have difficulty seeing their wives in a sexual manner? What about the issue of aggressiveness?
I'm not aware of anybody being aggressive at all. I just don't think that I mean, I'm confident there are people who react inappropriately to this sort of thing. I don't doubt it for a minute. There are all sorts of theories about the relation.
Okay, appreciate that. We'll go to Lynn in Florida. Hello, Lynn.
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that my sister was a topless dancer for a number of years, probably 10 or 15 years, and so I know many of her friends, most of them are out of it, some of them are still involved. And I want to tell you that they all hated it.
Now, was that after they had done it for a while?
Yes.
Has that been in your experience in talking to the other gals?
Not in my experience, it hasn't. Of course, there are people that don't like the business. It's not for everyone. I really enjoy what I do.
We'll go to Jim in Wisconsin. Jim, we have just a little bit of time.
Yes, my question is for Devin. I was wondering if there's any history of sexual abuse in her childhood.
Absolutely none.
So you don't fit any kind of psychological textbook theory.
No.
You know, Norma, one could very well say women want the choice in everything. Why pick this as the thing that you say women cannot have a choice? Here's a grown-up person, college educated, and decides this is a way to make money for a while so that she can set herself up for the rest of her life.
Yeah, we're not saying that women cannot have a choice. That's not our position. What our position is, we have to examine what this choice is all about. This choice is being made because she has other options that have been taken away from her. She does not have the same options as a man going to college to get the same jobs, to make the same pay. This has been documented. This is what women are confronting. Her choices are constrained, and this is one that is open to her because of the male-dominated society we live in.
Very quickly, are you running a sanitized brothel?
Absolutely not.
Not concerned about that at all? You don't think any of these women would ever turn on you and say, you really contributed to degrading me as a person?
I didn't entice anybody to come work there. They all came and worked there of their own free will. They all make a very good living. And as far as I know, they enjoy it, because if they're not having a good time, then I don't want them working there.
The pornography industry is her public relations firm.
I don't consider this pornography.
And gentlemen, I thank you all for being with us today.
You don't have to entice them.
We'll be right back.
It's not pornography.